pod bay doors, please, Hal.
信玄なき武田の軍団が行く。しかし彼らはその死を知らない。
おい、妙な噂が流れておるぞ。親方様が敵の弾に撃たれ。
やいやい、寝ぼけ眼を相手しかと見ろ。親方様はあれにござるわ。
調子に乗るな、バカ者。殿様、皆の者に見られたらどうなる。
少しばかりの兵を動かしても信玄があるかあらぬかは分からん。
よし、攻めてみよう。攻める？いずこう？駿河の武田を攻める。
地獄の黙示録のフランシス・コッポラ、スター・ウォーズのジョージ・ルーカスの友情に助けられて黒澤明が世界に問う空前の大作。
Bay doors are open. Welcome once again. I'm your host, Doug Heller, film critic and film historian for TalkMovieToMe.com, here as always with Jerry Dean Roberts, film critic for ArmchairCinema.com, ArmchairOscars.com, and OverThinkingOscars.wordpress.com. You can find all of our stuff on the Pod Bay Doors Podcast.wordpress.com, iTunes, YouTube, Twitter at pod_bay, and at Patreon at pod_bay. Now that that's all out of the way, Jerry, what's going on?
This is the part where I'm supposed to do a quote. I don't speak Japanese. It's always hard to do quotes with a foreign film.
It is, and I often put you in that precarious, difficult position.
Right, because they usually sound stupid. And you try to say them in English.
Today we return to not only Kurosawa land, but feudal Japan and the Goku film, I believe it's called. Samurai film.
Mm-hmm.
For
Is it a samurai film?
Not traditionally.
Hmm.
And we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
It's Akira Kurosawa's late color film masterpiece, Kagemusha, or Shadow Warrior.
Which he had to work to get made.
Oh, he had to work as hard as Martin Scorsese did for The Irishman.
Right.
Like, nobody would finance him. His last picture had gone over budget and on Redbeard, and all of the
One of them failed.
right, Redbeard. Well, it was Redbeard. It's a 3-hour-long movie about a doctor. Nobody wanted that. Apparently, it's great. That's one of the few of his that I haven't seen yet.
Only a Japanese director would make a 3-hour movie about a doctor.
I don't know. An Italian probably would too, but
Yeah.
that would be a very different movie. So this is eventually this got made because the two most powerful people in Hollywood
At the time.
George Lucas and Francis Ford Coppola, put their names on it, got him money from 20th Century Fox, and got the picture made and distributed.
Okay, I gotta tell you, when I saw this last night, there were two things that threw me off my game right away. One of them was the 20th Century Fox logo. It's the exact same logo that opens Star Wars.
Yes, it is.
And immediately following that is the logo for Toho,
Mm-hmm.
the home of Godzilla. So both of those kind of threw me off my game. I'm like, wait a minute,
Hey, just as a note, Toho Company was the largest film production company in Japan, so
Right.
everybody worked for them.
But as a dumb American, when I hear Toho, I immediately think of Godzilla, and, the Godzilla pictures. But as I sat down to watch this, I noticed, and I've seen a few of his films, and the thing that really strikes me about his work is that you don't have to work very hard to grab onto his narratives. He's very straightforward in his storytelling.
Very much so.
This one, more than any other.
Mm-hmm. I think
Because
this is probably one of his most convoluted stories, and it's an original screenplay.
and it's supposedly based on fact.
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly.
Sort of.
But you could say that about anything.
Right. It takes place in 1572 to 1575. How in the hell are we going to know if anything's
Yeah.
wrong? Let's see. That was 500 years ago, almost. Yeah. No.
And let's go ahead and say it. This is not the most original story in the world.
Oh no!
I mean,
It's, as you mentioned last night. It's The Prisoner of Zenda.
I kept thinking The Prisoner of Zenda. I kept thinking Woody Allen's done this.
Mm-hmm.
Mel Brooks did this. I thought of Dave, the Kevin Kline comedy.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think of just a lot of different films, and a lot of different ideas. There's a lot to this film. There's a lot that you can compare it to.
This film operates on 3 distinct levels, and one is deeper than the next. I mean, the double game here is complicated more than other things that you see, because the lord that is being impersonated, Shinjin,
Yeah.
says that when he dies, he gets shot in a battle in the shoulder, and it's 1572, so he's dead. But
Yeah.
he's not dead yet.
Only mostly
Yes,
dead.
he's mostly dead. He says, I don't want anybody to know that I've died for 3 years.
Yeah.
Put this double in and go about life like I'm still alive, because if our enemies think I'm dead, they'll take us out.
And Kurosawa could have made this a comedy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think, if I'm
There
not
are some
mistaken,
very funny parts to it.
didn't Peter Sellers do this? I think. I remember the Prisoner of Zenda. I remember, didn't Mark Twain write this also? What was it, The Prince and the Pauper?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So like I say, it's not the most original story in the world, but it's an original approach because he takes it seriously.
Right. He drops it into feudal Japan when feudal lords had doubles all the time.
Right.
I mean, even up until, like, what, Saddam Hussein and Kim Jong-un and Il have doubles. If you see them walking around, it's probably not him.
Padme
Yeah,
had doubles.
yeah, she did.
But, which I think is really cruel.
Actually,
You know.
there's a really good book that I just read called Queen's Shadow that goes into, like, it's 2 years after the invasion. So she's stepping down as queen and being appointed as senator, and it explains the handmaidens and how they're like all security professionals, and they
have cloning technology.
They're not clones,
but
they're real.
I know.
Anywho.
But I kept thinking, and I want to tell you, the primary thing that kept going through my mind while I was watching this, and it is exactly 3 hours.
Yeah.
The version that I saw the Criterion.
That's the one I have.
The thing that kept going through my mind, it's all for nothing.
Yeah, it is.
I kept thinking, it's all useless. There's no end to this, because this system under which they live, and this system under which they live, and this system under which they conduct themselves and they conduct their lives, and they set out to discipline themselves, is all pomp and circumstance with no real meaning.
Yeah, largely.
It doesn't mean anything. They put on armor, they put on robes, they put on they carry flags around. They march thousands of soldiers onto the battlefield. That battle at the end
25
is completely pointless. There is nothing here. And I kept thinking,
do you know, let me tell you something quick about that last shot, that last battle. He used thousands of extras, horses, shot for like 3 days or a week. And in the international version, which was an hour or 2 hours and 40 minutes, 160 minutes, that battle was shortened to 90 seconds.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that is incredible.
He cut that down himself. He was the editor. He was one of the editors. Down to 90 seconds for the international release. I'm so glad that it got restored. And the scene with the doctor, too, that goes to visit the double, that was taken out of the international version, too.
I love the scene with the grandson. That's not my grandfather.
Yeah. But then all of a sudden, I love the love that they had.
Yeah,
like the kid.
I like the relationship.
I love the. He's like, is he different? Yes. He's not scary anymore.
Yeah, it sort of improves their relationship.
Yeah, it does. Because he's actually a nice person.
Is he actually? I want to tell you another connection that this movie has is to Rebecca, which we talked about 2 years ago, which is about another person who is brought into a difficult circumstance and is never given a name. The thief here is never given a name.
No, he's just referred to as the double.
Right.
Played by the same actor as the guy that played the Lord, so they're looking
and
like is
played by the only other film I can remember for this actor was in Ron, which I absolutely love.
God, I love that movie. That was almost, instead of Kagemusha, it was almost Ron. His King Lear is just. Oh.
I can't. In the story, basically, is that the Shinjin wants a double for political reasons.
Right. He doesn't want to be seen as weak. He's trying to.
He's the mountain.
Right. He is the mountain. He's immovable, and he wants to unite the Japanese clans under one leader. He wants to be the Garibaldi of Japan.
Mhm.
Uh, uh, well, that's exactly what Garibaldi did.
Yeah.
So it's, and then when he's injured, he's like, okay, yeah, we're gonna stop moving forward. I think
Yeah.
his father is a lord in Kyoto. Might even be the lord in Kyoto that he's
Yeah.
marching against. And, like,
But Shinjin is killed by a sniper
right.
who has tracked his movements, and they need him. Then he sets down the rule: I don't want my death revealed for 3 years, because it can cause the other rival clans to sense weakness and attack
Mm-hmm.
because they don't have their leader.
Right.
And so they want him to play the role. This actor, I don't know this actor, but
This
the
actor is
the expressions on his face, he is terrified for most of this movie,
Oh yeah, as the double.
and is
Yeah.
probably the saddest character I've ever seen in my
His
life.
eyes.
His eyes, the drop down look on his face. The thing is, he's just, this is a man who's lived basically a worthless life. He's a thief.
Right. The actor's name
He's
is...
about to be crucified.
Yes, he is. He's about to be crucified. Uh, the actor's name is Tetsuya Nakadai,
Right.
and he was not only in this and Ran, but he was in Harakiri, he was in High and Low, he was in Sanjuro, he was in Yojimbo, he was in Human Condition 3, 2, he was in all three of those, and he was in The Seven Samurai. He's been...
Harakiri is an interesting film because
I love that movie so much.
It's questioning that whole Bushido code, that
Yeah.
whole, the idea,
We're going to talk about that one too. I love that one.
the idea of codes, the idea of any man living by any code,
Mm-hmm.
is ridiculous. You know, expecting someone to live by this set of rules and asking them to do things that are beyond their human nature. Like, you've disgraced yourself, you have to go out and kill yourself. Well, screw you. I'm a human being, flesh and blood, just like you are.
Yeah, the
Okay, I
notion
screwed
of-
up. So does everybody. You
the
know, why
notion
do I have to
of
pay
honor
for it?
and dishonor and feudal Japanese culture, even contemporary Japanese culture, but feudal Japanese culture was just brutal. Like, yeah, if you did anything that could be listed as unbecoming, oh well, you've got to kill yourself.
Or you have this emperor or this leader who's so exalted and is seen as this divine being on earth, and you are ordered to kill yourself in the name of this person,
Mm-hmm.
when underneath they're skin and flesh and bone just like you are.
Mm-hmm.
They can't...
The terrible hierarchy.
The terrible hierarchy is just unbelievable. That you have to throw yourself into a circle of death because of this person.
Right.
Who doesn't know you?
No.
Who doesn't care about you?
And
Who's only interested in honor, and men kill themselves for me.
yeah,
And, you know,
I mean it's just it's a terrible abuse of power, but that many of them also had to submit to, though.
right.
In all fairness, yes, you had to die for your lord if you screwed up, but if he screwed up, or if somebody above him found out how bad you screwed up, that's his fault, and now he has to die.
Right.
It is quite literally a double-edged sword. unless it's harakiri and you've replaced your blades with bamboo. Anyway,
Here's another connection. Here's another interesting connection. This movie is, if you think about it, I know it's a stretch, but if you think about it, the idea of having to blindly follow a leader and having to blindly do this and going into a battle, it really, if you think about MASH, the themes of MASH are really here in the idea that what is it all for?
right.
You know, I'm here and I'm sewing people together for what?
To send them back out to shoot other people
Right. And there's
that I'm
there's
not going to patch up because they're just on the other side of an imaginary line. Yeah, it doesn't.
there's a scene where Hawkeye's working on somebody. He finds out that the guy's a 2-star general, and he says, "Yeah, strip them down to their skivvies, and they all look like PFCs."
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that stayed on my mind while I was watching this. I thought, this mountain,
Yeah.
quote unquote, he's just flesh and blood, bag of bones, just like you are.
Right, but apparently not a very hospitable bag
Right.
of bones.
Right.
I love the Kagemusha is all about the levels and the layers and the perceptions. Because, I mean, on one hand you have a national, it has the macro, the intermediate, and the micro
Right.
going on at all times. Because you're always conscious of, okay, well, he's in this certain position and he's trying to fight these clans. Okay, unite Japan. It's this overarching national concern. And then it drops down a little bit and it just gets into his family.
Yeah.
Like,
His concubines.
his concubines and the son that he, well, first of all, he killed his wife and he killed his kid, his
Yeah.
eldest son,
Mm.
because he felt that they were traitors. And due to some reason, because of that problem, he couldn't name his son as his heir, so he named his grandson. So he skipped over his son, and his son has to be the protector of the future leader of the clan instead of being the leader of the clan.
Right.
So there's a lot of bitterness, and he is constantly trying to prove himself as a general.
Yeah.
And I loved, there's a nuance to this where the Shadow Warrior is by name the double.
Right. He's a shadow.
Like he's a shadow of, and he has to disappear when the body disappears. But the son has been living within the shadow too. He's a shadow warrior too. A lot of the success has depended upon the son's really great ability in the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to look at it like, who is really the shadow warrior? The guy who's pretending to be the Lord, or the kid that can never get out of the shadow? He is literally fighting in the shadow of his father.
Right. And he's expected to act in accordance with how his father would act.
Right.
And he's always under that. The thing that I always noticed, and on a more simplistic note, I love the shell game they have to play.
Yeah.
The idea that the only people that know that that Kagemusha is not Shinjin are the people who are closest to him, the people who are effectively who are effectively his advisors, the people who were there when he died.
Right. Because, he wants to keep it a secret. They can't tell the clan because anybody could be paid to give that information to a rival clan.
Right.
So, yeah, there's 3 guards, 2 pages.
I love the guards who are in the closet.
Yeah, I love the hidden guard room.
They open the closet, they're just sitting there, and I'm like, are they dead? They're not moving at all. But it's funny, they were the shell game that they have to play because when the grandson figures it out, I'm like, okay, kids are a lot more perceptive about this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And also the fact that the grandson is probably closer to him than anybody else. And then I'm thinking, okay, then he's got his concubines, and I'm thinking, okay, here's the trick. As soon as he strips down, as soon as he strips naked to be with his concubines, one of them is going to figure something's up.
Right, because things aren't going to be the same.
Things aren't going to be the same. Something is not going to be right.
And the downfall of it was them, because he fell off of the horse that only Shinjin could ride.
Right.
And his tunic fell open to reveal that he did not have a scar where the bullet went in.
Right.
So he doesn't have a scar, he wasn't shot, he's not Shinjin, and then the whole thing just falls apart.
Right.
Right when he was getting really, really good at his role.
This scene, I love the scene where they meet with the other generals, and they tell him, you know, we're going to talk, we're going to discuss it, and we turn it over to you. And then he just says, you know, you're supposed to say the mountain will not move.
Right. You say these things, and then we're done.
Yeah.
And you walk away.
Yeah.
And his son fucks it up.
And he's really good at it.
Yeah, he is.
He's really good at it. I'm really surprised. I'm very, very surprised that, and I guess it says something of his restraint, that Kurosawa didn't turn this into a comedy, because it could have easily been a comedy.
It could have been a comedy. And Kurosawa can do comedy.
Yeah.
Like, half of Hidden Fortress is a comedy.
Right.
And Yojimbo and Sanjuro are pretty funny, too.
Did you get the sense that the double, by the time the movie ends, has effectively become a more honorable man?
Oh, 100%. Because that moment when he discovers that Shinjen has died, because he was just doing his double's duty,
Yeah, he was stealing.
Right.
And he discovers him inside a clay jar.
Right. He was going to try to steal the contents, run away, and get out of it, because it was too much for him. And he discovers the body, and he has this this wonderful change of heart. It's just this. Yeah. He was only in
his final scene is heartbreaking.
Oh. Yeah, it really is.
When he's trying to, he's in that river, and that's a powerful image. The imagery in this film is amazing. That powerful imagery. What is it all? What is it? It's just life is simply a river that keeps moving, and everything is washed away in the adamant of time. And none of this matters.
No, and especially like when you take it apart, like at the end when the son decides to take 25,000 soldiers, which is a lot of people even now. But then they had to walk and take their horses, and like that was a big operation, 25,000 people.
Yeah, that parade of soldiers, there were thousands.
Yeah. And,
oh my God.
Yeah. And so by the end, everybody's dead.
Yeah.
So the guy dies. He says, "Don't tell anybody I'm dead for 3 years. Because I don't want to get wiped out." 3 years go by, and they get wiped out.
Yeah.
As soon as they knew he was gone, the son should not have moved and tried to take this on the road.
Right.
The show wasn't ready. It still needed some rehearsal. It needed a soft open in Boston, but it
needed a road show.
You're right. Well, it needed to not be a road show yet.
It needed to not be a road show.
Still needed to go over it, and it's everybody gets wiped out.
Yeah. And it's all for nothing.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking, what is it all for? Well, it's their survival, for one thing, because they know that if they realize that the mountain has crumbled, then they'll come flooding in and they'll take over.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, what do we want in our leaders? We want a symbol, somebody who will. A lot of people just want a symbol, somebody who projects authority and a taciturn, a firm hand, and one hand is firm and the other is relaxed and compassion, and that's really what they want from Shenzhen.
Mm-hmm.
Despite what he's done, despite any accomplishment that he may have had in life, they want a symbol, and that's what he is. He's a symbol of, to the other clans, he's a symbol of this rigid
Mm-hmm.
authoritarian. And I thought about that, and I thought, forgive me for pulling it back to the Western world, but this movie comes out in 1980. And in America, we did the exact same thing. We elected a leader who was not a leader, who was a symbol that people thought they were comfortable with. And that you're laughing, but I mean, you think about it. You think about it. The other guy screws up, so we think, okay, we're going to knock you off your position. We're going to put somebody in that we're more comfortable with, that projects authority and is going to give us, what we want. He doesn't.
No.
But it's interesting that the movie came around just at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And all through history, this has been all through history, this has been the through line with any leader, is that you want a leader who projects authority, who does, maybe who has an accomplishment or two, but somebody that makes your enemies tremble and comforts those who are under his command.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's all for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a measure of feeling better, and that's and this code, but this code of honor and respect and all of this stuff doesn't mean a thing, because those who are respected for their accomplishments, like Shenzhen, if you really followed them around in their day-to-day operations, you'd find out that they're just as human as you are, just as prone to mistakes, just as prone to bad behavior, just as prone to doing the wrong thing.
Well, what was it like in Deadpool when Colossus says, 4 or 5 moments. That's all it is that makes hero. It is not 24/7.
Right.
That's exactly it. He's just a dude, and
yeah.
that's our problem as humans.
Mm-hmm.
Tend to deify people in positions of power, especially if we didn't put them there ourselves.
Yeah.
So
right.
The whole hereditary thing, people just decide, well, okay, we'll buy into this whole divine right of kings, because what other way are we going to explain it? We gotta, he's in charge, whether we like it or not. So,
yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so yeah, sure, God wants you to be here. Okay, right.
Yeah. And that also plays into the religious aspect, because, there are a lot of people who believe a lot of ridiculous things for religious reasons. And, who are our religious leaders? And what do they believe? Why is anybody who believes in a religion and has a religious belief any better or worse than you are? And they start giving in to these, and this goes back to the codes of honor and codes of respect and the discipline and all of this stuff. Why are you doing all that? Why is it important? Well, it makes God happy. God's not telling you that. You believe that because you've been told that.
Mm-hmm.
And when you you look into this film, you look into a film like Harakiri, when you, forgive me for mispronouncing that, but when you look into this,
I can't stand it when people say Harry Carey. It's like,
Harry
no,
Carey,
he was an actor.
well,
That's why I always say it differently.
when you look into, what is the code and what is the honor and what is all of this, and we're doing it for the glory of this and we're doing it for the glory of that, well, it's all for nothing. And, we don't want to, I sound like I'm babbling, but I really am making a point here. When you, one of the current fights right now that I find very entertaining is the fight for equal rights. And people like to stomp on this thing. Well, if you give people equal rights, if you give gays and lesbians equal rights, then God's going to slam his fist down on the earth and it's going to crack in half. And
Well, I've always thought that it was.
going to rain fire and feces and Legos. And
I always thought that it was really funny when they say, "Oh no, the equality movement. We can't go giving special privileges to this group of people or that group of people." It's like, it's not special privileges. It's the same privileges that you have.
that they don't have.
So if you're admitting that you have special privileges, you're admitting that there is white privilege, and therefore you are exactly enumerating why there needs to be equality legislation that forbids special preferences being given to certain people. That's what it is.
But you try to snow it over with these Ark of the Covenant fantasies that you have, that God is going to just melt everybody's face off because we have, we've given equality to people that some people don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And it's to me, it's parallel to this honor system where, what in the world is it all for? No, that's not how it is.
Right.
The world is not going to crack in half if somebody screws up. The world is not going to crack in half if you give equality to people who you don't like and don't agree with. It's not going to happen.
Bottom line is, there's still people. I mean,
right? We're all flesh and blood.
It's.
I know forgive me if I sound confusing, but I'm speaking my mind, and that's often a dangerous thing.
I've been thinking, a dangerous pastime I know.
Yeah,
beauty of the
pretty
beast
much.
there. But this picture says so much about so much. I mean,
it got me thinking about a lot of things.
Oh yeah, like I said, it drills down from the macro. It goes from the country to the family to the man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to the men.
To the man, yeah.
Yeah,
this movie's mostly a sausage party. I mean, there's very few women in this movie.
Yeah. It drills down to him, and this whole thing is about his vanity.
Yeah.
He did not treat his son with respect and, allotting him the promotions that his skill and reputation earned him.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, the son didn't get as well trained as he should have. And therefore, when he got to be the guy in charge,
got everybody killed.
Everything fell apart. Yeah, he got everybody killed.
Even the horses.
Even the... Oh.
That is heartbreaking. That's hard to watch. It is a panorama of death.
Oh, it's just... And how it happens, too. Actually, I like how Kurosawa sets it up for them to be defeated. He's okay. Shoot the horses first because the cavalry can't attack without horses.
Because they shoot horses, don't they?
But this is almost exactly what happened to the mounted Cossacks in the Crimean War.
Mhm.
They were charging with sabers and handguns on horses, and they just got mowed down by machine guns
Right.
because they did not change their military tactics with the time, and that was what early 20th century. So
They brought a knife to a gunfight.
basically, yeah. So I think this was kind of Kurosawa's referencing of the Crimean War, which was a big deal back in the day.
Mhm.
Most people don't remember it now, but
Well, everything at the time got overshadowed by World War One.
yeah, afterward, yeah. So it's really, and they just line up behind fence posts, really,
Yeah.
and just keep rotating out. People with loaded guns get up, shoot. People with loaded guns get up and shoot. And they just wiped them all out. They didn't suffer a single casualty.
Mhm.
Like is it Tanaka? Tenkata?
Mhm. Yeah.
Takeda clan just basically lines up to be shot. Like, okay, let us get into order. All right, we'll keep going. Okay, you guys need to reload.
Wave after wave.
All right,
just-
let's keep going while you guys reload. Okay, and it's basically like they were just lining up for this, like to just die.
Can we talk about their? Can we talk about their symbol, the symbol on their flags? It's supposed to be a flower, I'm guessing. It looks like it's a flower in 4 parts.
Oh, right, to represent water, wind, fire, and mountain.
But when they put it on their banners, it looks like the Windows logo.
Yeah, it does.
Every time they go into battle, that is all I kept thinking of because it's there. It's that war trying. It's that. I'm sorry. It's just.
Yeah, it's.
You will fight for a good operating system, man. I mean.
You gotta, man. I mean.
Yeah. Yes. Sorry. It just. Look, 3 hours in this movie, and how many times do you see that symbol?
A lot. A lot. And it's.
I'm sorry if I threw you off your game.
No, that's fine. I wanted to talk about the cinematography.
Oh my god, this movie is gorgeous.
And I want to talk
Can we talk about that dream sequence?
Oh man,
That dream sequence is unbelievable. The double goes to sleep and he has this dream that he's running through these clouds, these rainbow colored clouds, and you can see he's running. It looks like on a platform, and you can see underneath it. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like that. That is unbelievable.
It's gorgeous, and he does something later in his career. He has a segment. I don't know if you ever saw Akira Kurosawa's Dreams from 1990.
I didn't.
There's a sequence where a man is in a mountain, and he on a mountain pass, and he talks to the spirit of a dead soldier who had died there hundreds of years before.
Yeah.
And the way that's shot, he used a lot of the techniques that he uses in this dream sequence to backdrop that. So he recycles that idea.
Wow.
In the best segment of it's an episodic movie based on his dreams. That's the best part, and it's because he employs these really clever camera techniques and looks. that dream sequence is rattling. It's
Yeah.
I mean,
It's not what you expect, but
no,
and like I say, I've never seen anything like that before.
or really,
It's rotating,
yeah.
and he's running on it,
Hmm.
and you can see underneath it what looks like I'm guessing the underworld or something. It's heaven and hell, and it's like heaven is like this cloudy, rainbow colored cotton candy kind of thing, and underneath you see this sort of brown and red underworld, and it's just I was mesmerized by it.
Yeah, it's
I really was.
stunning. It's
You know,
absolutely amazing.
and I'm always asking, is the movie I'm watching going to give me something that I've never seen before? I've never seen that before.
Yeah, yeah. The whole look of this video, the color in this is so vibrant.
Yeah.
And I mean, this was 1980.
Yeah,
It
this
was
is
shot-
1980.
It was shot in 79. For anyone to say the color photography in 1980 stands out, the only thing I've seen that's better of his work camera-wise is Ron.
Mhm.
Um,
This reminded me of some of the best of David Lean's work,
yeah,
in that you have a small, intimate story taking place on this giant canvas.
right.
I was reminded of like Lawrence of Arabia.
Mhm.
I was reminded of the Bridge on the River Kwai.
Mhm.
You know, those gigantic epics. You know, even something like Ten Commandments.
Yeah, that are really
know, which-
focused on one or two people,
Right.
3 people. Yeah, Bridge. Oh man, we got to.
But you can see the whole freaking world on the screen.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I love
And it's
it.
majestic.
Yeah, it that kind of epic thought has only been had by a handful of filmmakers.
It doesn't exist anymore.
It really doesn't. Not even with the old guard, the masters that are around now, Spielberg, Scorsese, Coppola. That is not how most of them approach their work, despite the fact that most of their work is influenced by people who kind of pioneered that concept.
Yeah.
With Kurosawa and Lean and a few others that were still around when they were kids, when they were coming up in the business. But it takes a lot of vision to be able to put the story of one man backed with sometimes global conflict and still make the emotions of the person you're following important.
It takes a lot of it's a massive force of will to take that vision and be able to convince people who are giving you the money that this is worth doing.
Right. It's kind of Kagemusha and Ron, Seven Samurai. I kind of equate it like this. It's as if Roland Emmerich and James Ivory made a movie together. Because Roland Emmerich has
Now that would be something.
all the size and spectacle, but none of the characters. James Ivory has everything to do with the characters and virtually nothing moving on screen at all except a couple of mouths. So the balance between
his films
the
are all
two,
in the dialogue.
Yeah, the balance between the two is David Lean and Kurosawa. Like,
you know, one of my favorite scenes in this movie. I love it when characters sort of get philosophical, and I love it when the advisor is sitting there at the very end of the movie, and he starts questioning what is the shadow of man. What is the shadow? You know, what is he really worth when we take away his position as the double for Shinjin?
right. And what happens to the shadow when the man is gone? The shadow goes away.
Right.
I'm
Right.
kind of impressed that they didn't kill him.
I think it
They
would
were
have
gonna.
been. I had come to admire these men. I don't agree with them, but come to admire them for their attention to the fact that he did his job.
Right, and that he was a person. He wasn't just
Right.
something that he wasn't just a piece of paper that you throw away.
You could have made a movie in which he is ordered to do this stuff. He's ordered to be the double, and he either keeps screwing it up or he keeps making it, and they just keep fussing about it.
Mm-hmm.
You could have made a movie like that.
Mhm.
It would have been very repetitious, especially at 3 hours. It wouldn't have been very repetitious, but I think that when you get down to it, there is a learning curve here, and they're sitting there and they're looking at him and they're thinking, and a lot of them do respect what he's bringing to the role.
Mm-hmm.
It's a difficult role to play. It's an impossible role to play. You're trying to be somebody else.
You're trying to be somebody else that you did not know.
Right.
You met one time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at least the brother who had been doubling for him for years grew up with him.
Right.
Knows the habits and the ways that he can make himself look and move and feel. The poor double does not have any of that.
Right.
And he's basically trained in, like, what, a few months. And then he has to do this 24/7 for 3 years.
And then he's got to convince the people that don't know that are close to him
that he is
and
that guy. And I mean, the concept of it, there is a good movie to be made from the perspective of the double.
Yeah. I kept thinking that. I kept thinking, wouldn't it be interesting to make a movie about this guy who is, completely from his point of view. A lot of the movie is not his point of view.
No.
A lot of the movie is people's reaction to him,
Mm-hmm.
even though you do feel for him.
Mm-hmm.
And,
He is a very sympathetic character.
Yeah.
And
without a lot of dialogue.
Yeah, no. He doesn't talk a lot. I love. We do need to wrap this up here because of time and personal commitments. But
time keeps on slipping.
Right. Waits for no man or woman, or transgendered individual or non-binary or however you choose to identify.
It waits for no person.
Right. Yes.
It flows like the river at the end.
Well, boy, I just derailed myself. I completely lost track of where I was going with that. So I want. Oh yeah, no, the opening shot.
Yeah.
How the opening shot is basically a direct contrast to everything else in the movie, because it is an Ozu-style shot.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I thought when I saw it.
There's Shinjan in the back middle. There's Nobukoya, his
the
brother.
Advisor.
His brother.
The brother, yeah.
Sitting a little bit ahead and off to the right, and then farther away and on the left is this other person.
The thief.
That you can't really see. The head is bowed down. They're talking around him. It's like a 10-minute scene.
Mm-hmm.
That there's no credits. It's just, and there's just guys talking about finding this duplicate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's with it starting at such a small, intimate, confined thing to end out in the open on this grand field, this set of horrifying carnage is really stunning.
That field of that panorama of death all you can think of when you see things like that is you compare it with the street scene in Gone with the Wind,
Mm-hmm.
where you have all of these
Right, the
bodies, and
hospital. Yeah.
you have all these bodies and all these, and again, what is it all for?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you play to that. That is a thought that runs through your mind all through this film. It's all for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
These people all died for nothing,
Yeah.
and they died for honor, code, loyalty. Please, really, it's just a waste of life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's all I got to say
Yeah.
about it.
That's that's what I got. It's such a magnificent movie, and I'm glad I made you and me rewatch it for the first time in forever.
Well, next week we're going to talk about
A movie that's
someone.
even longer.
Next week we're going to talk about it's 3 times longer.
Yeah.
Next week we're going to talk about somebody else who was seen as a symbol
Mm-hmm.
and a hero. Next week is what I consider to be the best documentary probably of this millennium. It is Ezra Edelman's Academy Award winning, whether you like it or not, OJ Made in America.
Yeah, I had a problem with it winning, but
OJ Made in America. I've seen this a couple of times, and
I don't even.
I am.
You know, I looked. I opened up. We each Jerry and I both have screeners for this that we got 3 years
It's a
ago.
2-disc. It was a 2-disc
Two
screener.
discs. Disc 1 is 3 hours, 4 minutes, and 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Disc 2 is 4 hours, 43 minutes, and 29 seconds.
And it's in 5 parts.
Which means this is a 7-hour, 47-minute, and 31-second long movie.
Mm-hmm. And I'm never bored by one solitary moment of it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it next time. But it's dazzling. I bitch and moan about the runtime, and here I am sandwiching
Throwing me a 3-hour Japanese movie.
sandwiching it with Kagemusha on one end and Apocalypse Now on the other.
Right.
Like,
But
I have
you
the-
could probably watch both movies twice in the time that it takes you to watch OJ Made in America. I'm going to tell you this before we go, and I know you're running short on time. I am dazzled by this film because this is a movie about our time.
Yeah, it's an impressive achievement. Whether you have quibbles with the Academy rules or not, this is an impressive achievement, no matter how you crack it.
Because of what it has to say,
Right.
because of the filmmaking, because of the compacting of the portrait
Mm-hmm.
of 50 years
Yeah.
of racial problems
Mhm.
in this country.
Yeah.
All seen through a man who seemed to have none of that.
Yeah.
And who built his career outside of that.
Right.
It's fascinating. I started watching it last night. I have an hour and 15 minutes to go.
Trading back and forth between OJ and Kagemusha.
I watched Kagemusha for an hour, and then I went back to OJ for a little while, and then I came back and watched Kagemusha for another hour, and this morning I finished Kagemusha. And
yeah,
Kagemusha is really great.
it is. It's a phenomenal picture. I think we'll end it there. Get all of our back episodes at podbaydorspodcast.wordpress.com. We are on iTunes and YouTube. Give us your likes, upvotes, positive comments, feedback, any kind of requests that you might have. I know we still have to do They Live, and that may end up being one of my Shocktober picks simply because we promised to do it 2 years ago and it still hasn't happened. So
The person who requested that, thank you.
yeah,
But we're getting to it.
it's not you, it's us. And find us on Twitter at pod_bay. Throw a tip into our virtual tip jar at Patreon, also at pod_bay. We thank you so much for listening, and the Pod Bay doors are now closed.
The mission has been completed. She pops into the bathroom just after a shower and she plays with my makeup and creams, keeps trying to look like me, and goes through the motions posing this way and that, holding it in if it makes you feel better and knock yourself out. I say hi there to my bad body double. Is this my bad body double trouble? Oh no, my bad body double. I've got bad body double trouble. Oh, she's trouble. She's trouble. She's trouble, alright. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes I want us to lose her, shake her at a bar in the gym for 5 minutes. It feels so good to be back on my own self again. Can get quite confusing. We look very similar except she's got some greys and a little extra weight on the sides and dimply thighs. I hear that stuff's a bitch to get rid of. No, no, not now. We're having quite an intimate personal moment. Not now. Could you maybe come at a slightly less awful time? As you can see, I've got someone quite nice here with me. Can't we just be left alone? I guess that's a no then, seeing as you're still here. Seeing as you're still here. Yeah. It's not me, no, it's my bad body double. I've got bad body double trouble. Oh no, my bad body double. I've got bad body double trouble. Bad body double. I've got bad body double trouble. Oh.